which we call the Twilight Zone.
Steve Kerr, and you look at Steph and Clay, and even Draymond with his lack of
Is it 2 in a row? 7 points for him. The twirling Doncic. Melting into the defense. The front carry. Strikes. Swing, fly ball. Well hit left center. Ronald Acuna has home rookie rushing record for the Steelers.
Look, he came into this game averaging 3.67 yards per carry. 42nd out of 49 qualified rushers.
Freeze to begin the third quarter. It has been incredible. Here he comes again. Oh, goodness. And a Greek basketball god. And he was a great guy to teach because he...
Valley Town fam, what up? Good evening. Welcome to the show. We have a special guest with us this evening. I don't know if you recognize him. He hasn't been on here for a couple weeks. But Aaron, welcome back, sir. Welcome back.
Hey, it's good to be back. It's good to be back, man.
Please tell us about the trip that you had. I know we got to see some pictures and saw the video, but just give us your take on your honeymoon vacation.
Yeah, man. So me and my wife went down to Costa Rica for a honeymoon. We got married about a month ago, so we did it over Thanksgiving, just so we got a little extra time. And
big brain.
It's gorgeous country, man. It's it was phenomenal. It was cool. We went into town and watched the Spain Costa Rica game, which of course was a absolute shellacking. But just like the pregame festivities and everything was, man, it was really cool. It was really cool to be in a place like that. And it was a lot of fun, man. It was great. It was beautiful. Now I'm back in cold Cleveland, Ohio.
You went from the most magnificent.
It was like 88 degrees. Got a little tan. Now I'm fucking chipping ice off my car, like some schlub.
That is
waking up 25 minutes early just so your car defrosts, so you're not freezing your dick off when you're driving.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Had some boozy nights and had like one of the best meals I've ever had. I got to watch on Thanksgiving. It's like on the ocean, like watching the sunset. And I got lobster and steak, so it's a pretty good day.
That's pretty ballin'.
I'm now in full detox mode. I got some decaf in the cup. We're getting back to baseline.
Shocking the system.
Hell yeah. Well, it is wonderful to have you back. Before we get into our picks and everything, we got a couple things we're going to talk about. First and foremost, USA Soccer has advanced to the round of 16 in the World Cup.
Let's go, boys.
They defeated Iran 1-0. Obviously, they tied England, and then they tied. Who did they play the first game?
Wales.
That's a game they should have won. That game came down to a PK in like the 86th minute. Outside of that, USA played flawless. They played England very well too. But they got the Netherlands on Saturday, so we will definitely be keeping our eyes on that. We're not big soccer guys, so we'll kind of leave it there. Just wanted to give them a quick shout out, let them know we're rooting for them. But we had some exciting college football last weekend. Some unbelievable college football. What was your biggest surprise from the weekend, Todd?
I mean, look, I think it's Ohio State getting beat by 3 scores against Michigan, right? That has to anybody that thought that game was going to be number one. I mean, I'm pretty sure I don't know if I said it to you, Bobby, or if I said it to somebody else. I thought Ohio State was going to beat Michigan by at least 2 touchdowns, right? And you watch that game and how well Ohio State executed so well in the first half and made so Tez liking the stream. What up, Tez?
T to the E to the double Z.
So I really thought that they were going to move the ball and have a good strategy in the second half. And oh my God, I mean, Michigan.
If I remember right, Tez is a Michigan fan.
Well, they locked down Marvin Harrison Jr. Every catch that he had was exceptional. He earned every single catch, right? And as a non-Ohio State fan, it didn't hurt my feelings at all to see them struggle against Michigan, right? I wasn't losing any sleep over it, but the big plays are what killed me in that game. So many big plays given up by the secondary specifically. And it's back-to-back years of losing to Michigan in the game. It's especially losing it in the shoe. That is that's tough. That's tough.
Tez said that you had stated they would blow out Michigan.
I did. 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, everybody thought that was going to happen. Aaron, what was your take from that game? Like, what do you think was the biggest thing for Ohio State? I mean, for me, it's like the lack of adjustments coming out at halftime. But
yeah, I'll kind of have to talk about it more big picture because Saturday was my 10-hour travel day coming home.
Oh, okay.
So I'm in the Liberia, Costa Rica airport, using the remaining data I had left on my little T-Mobile international card or whatever. And I made some friends at the airport because I have everything up right on the screens is World Cup soccer. And I'm in the corner, just waiting for my flight with my Ohio State Michigan game on. And I saw some people looking and I'm like, yeah, come on over. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So that was pretty fun. But I was buffering the whole time. So I didn't really get to see a ton, but I was following along with it, just taking a look at the score. And I wasn't, I'm probably the only one on this podcast that half-heartedly roots for Ohio State. I don't lose sleep when they lose. I wasn't boarding my flight knowing that they were down 2 scores. Well, God, kicking the seat in front of me. I was rooting for them, but it really doesn't ruin my day when they lose.
Honeymoon's ruined.
Yeah, it's over. Our team didn't score enough touchdowns. So, no, it wasn't like that. But, when Harbaugh got hired at Michigan, I heard this over and over from Ohio State fans who are like, well, we just want the rivalry to be back because, let's face it, for the last, 2 decades, it's been Ohio State's, it hasn't really been much of a rivalry to that point.
Caroline like industry. What up, Caroline?
So now I'm seeing all these Ohio State fans who are, of course, bitter that they lost to Michigan because it's the biggest game of the year. And, of course, there's playoff implications that go with it. But we wanted there to be a better rivalry, and now you're getting it. So you can't really have your cake and eat it, too. So in order for it to be a good rivalry again, Michigan is going to have to win some, and consecutively. So, again, I root for Ohio State, but in the grand scheme and the big picture of things, this is good for the rivalry.
Yeah, it's great to see it back. I mean, the biggest thing that I noticed coming out of halftime was Ohio State stuck with man defense, and they didn't adjust to a zone. I mean, as soon as Michigan, what's the running back's name?
Corum.
As soon as Corum got to that second level, there was nobody that was going to catch him.
Well, that was Edwards that was in at that point because Corum has been a superstar all year, and he has a pretty significant knee injury. So that's their backup running back that was eating on Ohio State the way that he was, and that it was, I think his name's Donovan Edwards, I think is his name, and then their wide receiver Johnson was the one that tore him up in the secondary. But you're absolutely right. I mean, they played a cover 0 and kept getting beat over and over and over again.
Why not just switch to his zone?
Well, I don't think that defense has the
capacity.
The secondary isn't good enough to be able to zone out a Michigan offense. I mean, JJ McCarthy, let's call it what it is. JJ McCarthy threw the ball all over Ohio State. And then the response was to hit the panic button and to just put a ton of pressure on McCarthy, who's also extremely mobile. So all he had to do was just get out of the pocket. And he had really nice pocket presence in the second half to be able to go weak side, or to go offhand to be able to scramble and get to the first down marker, I think 2 times on the same drive. And then a big thing that hurt Ohio State in the second half was just bad penalties, right? I mean, they had Michigan
in the foot so often.
Third and long the first time with a pass interference, and then 3rd and goal with pass interference in the end zone. So it's a culmination of just bad adjustments, and then just lack of discipline, right? A couple of one of the pass interference in the end zone is he just didn't turn around.
Yeah,
that's all it was. He wasn't tracking the ball. He was tracking the tight end or the wide receiver, and he just had no field presence.
He turns around, it's a pick. I mean the ball was right there.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
D Smith, what's up, man? You wanted Blue to win one. Yeah, I mean that we're gonna get to that here. That's a great transition to what we're about to talk about. D. So obviously, let me pull up the rankings here. We've got 3 teams that are undefeated. That is Georgia, Michigan, and TCU. And then there's 2 one-loss teams in USC and Ohio State with Alabama, Tennessee, Penn State, Washington, and Clemson, all with 2 losses. So, Aaron, I'll flip it to you, man. What are your projections for the football playoff, and who's going to be in it?
I mean, it's looking like it's going to probably stay the way it is. And I think that would probably be the best case scenario. I mean, TCU has Kansas State, which, don't get me wrong, Kansas State certainly is, they're ranked 10th. There's a reason that they're in this game. But that would be a pretty epic choke job out of TCU.
It would. And Kansas State gave TCU their toughest game this year, right? Beating them for almost 3 quarters. The TCU surmounted a 17-point comeback in that game. So you're right. It's just a tough one it's tough to say otherwise, but yeah, continue.
No, I think that's probably the way it goes. It's going to be chalk there. I mean, Michigan has Purdue, which, there kind of needs to be a realignment in the Big Ten when you have Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan State all on the same side. And then it's like Wisconsin and Iowa are usually pretty frisky, but they're having a down year. So, I think it ends up going chalk. And if anybody's going to lose, it's probably TCU.
So I actually think USC is going to get beat by Utah. That's my college football playoff shakeup here, right? So you have USC at number 4, Utah ranked right now at number 11. Big L at the beginning of the year to Florida, right? We saw Anthony Richardson play out of his mind in that week 1 against Utah, and then Utah's only 2 losses after that. I believe one of them was to Oregon. Right? Yeah, Oregon and then UCLA. But here's the thing. I watched Utah beat Oregon twice last year. They've brought pretty much everybody back that they had in the season prior. And I just don't think USC plays good enough defense to outmatch them for 4 quarters. So that's my prediction, is that USC gets knocked out of the college football playoff, and then you see Ohio State drop back into that 4 spot again. So I think it's Georgia, Michigan. There's no reason Georgia doesn't beat LSU by at least 2 touchdowns. It's a complete mismatch, the same way that the East and the West are kind of jarbled in the Big Ten. It's not as severe in the SEC, but this happens a lot, especially with LSU kind of in a weird position with Brian Kelly. They're kind of adjusting their, the whole scheme around. I think Georgia wins pretty handedly. I think Michigan beats Purdue by more than, I think the spread's like 17.5. I think they even go through that. I mean, it's ridiculous what they're going to do. Mystery. No, we're talking college football playoffs first, getting it out of the way.
It's all football.
Yeah, mystery. We're about wrapped up with it. We're just recapping our the crazy week in college football and what's going to be coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough weekend. We might see. I think it's going to be it could be a Ohio State versus Georgia thing. But if TCU takes an L, and USC also takes an L, Ohio State could slide up into 3rd. We could see a Michigan-Ohio State rematch, which that would bring some great ratings for college football. An Ohio State-Michigan rematch. If there is an outside chance that it happens. And
I'm saying there's no chance they put Ohio State 3. They'd put them at 4 in the off chance that they beat Georgia, because if you get an Ohio State-Michigan national championship, just start printing the money.
That would be insane. I don't know if we've ever had that.
Ooh, no, they've never. Well, so they've never played one. They've never, at least in the modern era of the Big Ten, they can't.
Never play. It's hard because they're not only they're in the same division, so only one can win the conference championship. If that
would happen, that would be the craziest thing that we've ever seen in college football.
It'd be awesome.
And I think Tez said it. I agree. I think this is the first year we don't have to talk about Alabama being in the college football playoff for a long time, and I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited.
Fuck you, Nick Saban.
I'm excited that he's just not a robot, and that he's not churning out, and that his I think tradition is starting to catch up to him in terms of recruiting and how he's bringing in talent and not getting aggressive enough in the transfer portal the way some of these other schools have, i.e. TCU and USC both, right? You hire a new coach, you get your quarterback, and you get the best wide receiver in college football to match it. And now they're in the talks of the college football playoff. So Alabama didn't hit the transfer portal right. They don't use it well. And, we're seeing the ramifications of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Do we have anything else we want to cover on college?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Cool. All right,
we'll get rolling on that as it gets into the playoffs there.
Yeah, we'll have a lot more to talk about next week. But let's recap here. I know we all haven't been on in a couple weeks to get some standings updates for these picks. Week 11. So I'm going to preface this with I've had the best record 3 out of the last 4 weeks. Week 11 was not it.
Week 11, I feel like that was a rough week.
It wasn't for you guys.
It wasn't?
It really
am I thinking of week 10 then? Okay, I'm probably thinking of week 10. There was one I went like 5 and 11.
Week 10 was the bad one.
Got it. Okay.
That's where we went 6-8, 6-8, and 7-7.
Yeah.
So
been out of pocket.
Yeah. So week 11 was a bounce back week for everybody except for me. I went 8-6. Todd and Corey went 10-4, and Aaron went 11-3. Couple games from that week that kind of went flip flop. Aaron got the W when the Falcons beat the Bears. He got that solo. So that was a good call. I took the Jets against the Patriots. They lost in a heartbreaker on a punt return in the last minute of the game.
Punt return for a
last 30 seconds of the game
left. Yeah.
I took the Rams against the Saints, and Andy Dalton showed up and showed out. I did have one good call that week, which was the Raiders over the Broncos. But the Broncos are absolute garbage. I took the Vikings over the Cowboys, and the Cowboys beat them 40-3. That was an absolute ass kicking. I think that was really all the fun highlights from week 11.
I want you guys to know if you know how people always say, like, if you're in danger, but somebody has a gun to your head, like, so what's your trigger to alert somebody to call 911 or something like that? If I bet on the Broncos again, call 911 because that means there's a guy off screen right here holding a gun to my fucking head.
No shit.
Oh God.
All right. So coming into Thanksgiving week, we all were kind of spread out that week. We still got our picks in though. We had a great week across the board. I went 12-4, and you guys went 11-3.
Let's go.
So it was a solid week for everybody. A couple of the games where we were split. We were split on Pat's Vikings. Todd and I got that W. Aaron took the Browns solo and got that one. Corey took the Jags by himself, got that one when they beat the Ravens towards the end of the game. I got the Raiders solo against the rest of the guys when they took on the Seahawks. I'm the only fucking moron that took the Cardinals over the Chargers because we never bet on the bird after the bird.
Nope.
And then
it's the rules. It's the rules.
I know.
Damn it. You didn't follow.
It's the fucking rules, and I didn't follow them. I wanted to be a rebel. Sue me. Then I got the Steelers on Monday night over the Colts. So that's the ultimate game that led to me taking the week. But we got a good one for you tomorrow night. Divisional matchup. We got the Bills versus the Patriots.
Do you have the overall standings?
Oh shit! Yeah, sorry.
No, I'm just.
Yeah, so overall standings, we'll start with the seller, which is yours truly. I am at 164, so keep in mind I am 36 games above 500, and I am in last place. Todd is 101-61. Corey is 104-58, and Aaron is on top of the leaderboard at 106-56.
Okay.
So there is 5 weeks left in the season. You've got 2 games on Corey. You've got 5 games on Todd and 8 on me.
All right.
So I don't have to make giant risks, but I've got to make some calculated risks over the next 5 weeks to get back in the scramble here. Todd, I guess that includes the both of us since we're only a game apart.
Yeah,
so
I gotta do some shucking and jiving here. With that, Corey. So for all of you that are watching that follow this week to week, Corey has already said that he's committed all of his picks with a timestamp to prove that he's not cheating. He's being a big boy and getting a higher education like a fucking pussy. So
who wants a fucking master's degree? Oh my God.
But
hopefully doctors.
Yeah, thanks, doctors.
This is a house of learned doctors.
I got a bachelor's. Doctors. Let me see what's going on with that kneecap.
I got 6 years of community college under my belt. Let's get in here and see what's going on with that.
I almost had some of that blood come out my nostrils. Oh my God. Okay. Whew. All right. Well, just to let you guys know, we've got some good games that I think we're going to be split on quite a few this week. There's some good matchups. There's some shit matchups, which will both lead to split picks. Well, we'll start with tomorrow night, though. This one shouldn't be too terribly difficult for us. Bills Mafia, if you guys are in here, welcome. You guys are the Thursday night game this week. So you guys are taking the Patriots on in Foxborough. Toddy G, we'll lead off with you. Who you got tomorrow night?
Guys, I'm taking the Bills, right? Like I don't think I'm not gonna hover over Foxborough in New England and try to put together a Bill Belichick answer where he figures out Josh Allen, because Josh Allen's already superseded Bill Belichick being able to pin him in a corner like a caged animal. So I'm taking the Bills here. I'm interested to see what they look like in the second half of this game, right? Because I think that's been the MO of the Bills, including of Thanksgiving when they played the Lions.
That was, they've had some close games the last couple of weeks.
They have. It's a lot. There's a lot of opportunity in the second half where they move the ball well and it kind of comes to a stone wall. So I'm really interested to see how they play 4 quarters of football. That's what I want to see tomorrow from Buffalo, is 4 consistent quarters of football.
Yeah, absolutely. Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be some picks that were on opposite sides of the fence of this week, and this just isn't one I would bet on. I think I think the Bills have looked a little bit, lackluster of what we saw them at the beginning of the season, where it was like, oh, this is just a freight train that's just gonna blow all the way through to the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, Josh Allen's injury is certainly part of the reason for that, but
sure,
I think the Bills handle this one pretty easily. It's Thursday night. They have they played last Thursday. They're on a full week's rest because they played on Thanksgiving. I'll take the Bills. And obviously the Patriots are too on the same rest, but I just think the Bills are a better team.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think really much else needs to be said. I got the Bills here, and I assume Corey's taking the Bills here too. I don't think he would stray on this one. Rob, what is up, sir? Good evening. Welcome. So I'm going to go ahead and mark us all down for the Bills. If that changes, I can change it later, but I strongly doubt that's going to change.
I think you're safe there.
Yeah, I think that's one where I can assume that and still be correct on it. All right, let's move on to the next one. We did get some news out of this next game. It is also a divisional matchup. We've got the Packers on the road in Chicago. Rob coming in at an absolute perfect time. I did see a tweet today. Aaron Rodgers is expected to play on Sunday. Justin Fields, however, is not expected to play on Sunday from what I understand. So, Aaron, I'll let you lead this one off, man. I think this is a tough game. This one could go either way.
I'm going to assume Justin Fields isn't playing because I think that's kind of the only way that the Bears have a chance in this one. I know Bears fans don't want to hear it, but Aaron Rodgers has great success against the Chicago Bears, and if he's going to play, I'm going to take him against the Bears. If Fields plays, I think that can be a completely different pick. He makes that offense just entirely, a different dynamic. Who's there? Was it Peterman that was playing, or who is it? That's
Trevor Siemian.
Siemian.
Yeah. But he's also injured. He's been limited in practice this week too.
Oh,
then it's Nathan Peterman. And then their backup quarterback now is former Detroit Lion David Boyle taking snaps over there. Sign him off the practice squad.
I don't trust that, and it can change between now and Sunday. But if I have to make my pick on Wednesday, I'm going to go with the assumption that Fields is going to not be playing, and I'm going to take the Packers.
Yeah, Todd.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've watched really the last 2 weeks for Christian Watson. He's played a lot better for Green Bay, starting to get comfortable in the NFL. I think that was the big thing. He's shown his big playability that everyone talked about when he got drafted by Green Bay, is that he has this speed and size to be able to get open and make these big plays. And we saw a lot of drop balls from him. We saw a lot of miscommunication between him and Aaron Rodgers. In back-to-back weeks, he's had 2+ 50-yard touchdown catches. So I'm interested to see that chemistry grow. But yeah, if it's Nathan Peterman out there, he's going to throw at least 2 interceptions, right? I mean, if history tells you anything, the guy throws on average like 2 picks a game, bare minimum. So I think Green Bay has enough ability to take advantage of turnovers and get a dub here.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this is a game where, as a fan, you are going to be robbed because you're not going to be able to see, both quarterbacks. I mean, Aaron Rodgers still won't be 100%, but if Fields doesn't play, you're not going to see the matchup that we all want to see. We want to see Justin Fields take on Aaron Rodgers. We want to see the Bears put up a fight against the Packers, but I don't see it happening this week if Fields doesn't play, which it's not looking great. But it's disappointing, man. Fields was just like we just started seeing him come into his own. They finally started letting him do his thing, and he's just been absolutely just popping off. So, he's starting to get to what we expected from him when he got drafted last year. So, it's exciting to see. It's good stuff for Bears fans, though. You got a lot to look forward to in the future. I think this is a point in the season where the Bears just need to make sure Justin Fields is 100%. Because that's your future right there. He's got a lot of talent. He's going to bring a lot of great things to the Bears in the next couple of years, and they just need to make sure that they take care of him. So I got the Packers. It's a long-winded way to say it. I got the Packers.
Well, so I think the interesting thing too, right? You bring up taking care of Justin Fields and not rushing him back to the field is that you're looking at a team that has the most cap space by a lot.
God, they can put some weapons
season,
around
right?
him too.
And you're talking about an early first-round pick for them too. There's some good exterior offensive linemen that are going to be available in the top 10 for them. The guy from Northwestern, Paris Johnson from Ohio State. You could go out and get your anchor, or if somehow they end up winning 5 or 6 games and you drop to 8 or 9, you could go out and get a Quentin Johnson or Jordan Addison, a top-tier wide receiver that Justin Fields can create the chemistry with. And you could go out and sign offensive linemen, right? Or sign your defensive guys that you need. It's all just going to depend on, where Chicago kind of lands in the draft. But
sure.
You gotta, here's the thing is that you got to take care of Justin Fields, right? That's first and foremost. So if the tackle from Northwestern's available and you're picking 5 or 6, it's almost, you have to do it, right? I don't think he falls that far, because if say Pittsburgh continues to lose and they get a top 5 pick, I think they go that route. But you got to get an offensive lineman. You got to take care of Justin Fields. You've anchor. You've given him one additional weapon in Chase Claypool, who is enough. Unfortunately, Darnell Mooney's out for the rest of the season. Whatever, you'll get him back healthy next year. But they got to protect Justin Fields. You can't keep running.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to go line or O-line over receiver, because you invested that second-round pick in Chase Claypool, and I don't know if he's the answer or not. But it'd be hard to spend a first-round pick on a receiver next year when you're basically using a second on a receiver as well.
Right.
And you can help Fields by protecting him. If he's going to be this Lamar Jackson type, I truly believe Claypool and Mooney is probably enough. Even with Kmet, you have such a dynamic offense. Maybe in a year down the line, you can look to upgrade that position.
So if a guy of like Marvin Harrison Jr.'s caliber is available when they come to pick, do you think they'd make that move to get somebody super athletic?
It depends on what linemen are off the board, Like it's hard to tell you. I mean, in a vacuum, I just say no. But if all of the guys that they have ahead of them have been taken off the board, maybe you take them, or maybe you look to slide down.
Yeah. No, just playing devil's advocate over here. I know that Justin Fields obviously has the mobility, so they could maybe look at it that way and say, he can get out of the way for now. Let's go get somebody that's going to help him, move the ball. But
Rob makes it interesting. Opinion here, saying that they can move back and stack a couple of first round picks. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, because if say they do end up picking 2, right? There's at least 4 teams that are playing today that are that need a quarterback in the future. And if you could go and get Stroud or Bryce Young at 2, you're going to go up and get him, right? I think that's the real thing, is the Bears aren't going to take CJ Stroud. They're not going to take Bryce Young, and they're more than likely not going to take the edge rusher from Will Anderson, the edge rusher from Alabama either. So you might as well try to, you wave that pick out there with a little bit of money on it, showing
see if you get some value.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Mystery makes a great point. Fields is down because of injury. Rodgers is injured, but playing. Yeah. for sure. So I mean, we definitely want to see that matchup of Aaron Rodgers and Justin Fields. Hopefully we get to see it next season. When they're both at their, well, not Rodgers, he's kind of on the, but Justin Fields is on his up. So Ted's coming with a comment. When they get that new stadium built, they'll attract better free agents as well. No one wants to play at Soldier Field right now. It's too damn cold. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's ever been to Soldier Field. I know Rob has. I know he went there this year, but it's
cold,
extremely cold environment to just watch a game. I couldn't imagine being on the field.
Yeah, but the Packers and Bills don't have a problem doing it. If you're good, you're good. Players want to play for teams that are good.
Well, yeah, Chicago hasn't been good in the last, since they won.
Well, right. That's why 20 years ago.
Right. Well, I think there has. I mean, look, you look at Chicago too. You look at Soldier Field and all the hubbub about them getting a new stadium, and the mayor of Chicago saying that they're going to put money into the stadium. Because if you look at what Soldier Field is, when it gets cold and you have an issue with snow, rain, whatever, that field turns into a skating rink, which becomes an injury risk, right? So I see that perspective of it from what Tez is saying, is that it's like playing in Washington where you get on the field and you don't know if all your ligaments are going to stay in place, right? But
cost RG3 his career,
maybe.
Well, winners go where winners play, right? If the Bills played in a shack and outside of Buffalo and they were 11-3, you're going to go play in Buffalo, right? Like that's just what it is. But there is something to quality of faculties or facilities rather for a player too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well let's move on here. I don't know where Corey's going to go with that. He could take a flyer on the Bears there, so I didn't want to speak for him. But the next game we got on the board, we got the Steelers on the road versus the Falcons. Steelers coming off a good win Monday night over the Colts. Falcons also took the win last week, I believe.
They
lost to the Commanders. Excuse me, they lost to the Commanders.
So before we get into this pick, can we talk about what happened with the Colts in that game on Monday night?
I'm going to be honest with you. I did not physically watch the game. I watched it from my phone and just kind of tracked it. So please enlighten me.
So Indianapolis is driving down the field and don't take a timeout and take 30 seconds in between plays, and it basically cost them the game. That's the synopsis of it.
It's coaching.
And then Jeff Saturday says, like, yeah, I just didn't really know. I didn't think it was going to take this long.
That's just lack of experience.
I don't fully blame Jeff Saturday though, right? You have a well-tenured quarterback in Matt Ryan who could make the decision like, we're taking a lot of time off the clock here. I should probably stop this so we could get back on the field and get the play right, rather than there was like 12 seconds where they were just kind of standing around in the huddle. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You have a successful drive moving and you're down by 6. Like, just either fucking spike it or call a play or call a timeout, do something. And the Colts did nothing. It was like almost like watching time stop for a second for them. And, Jeff Saturday took some accountability for it, but I mean, my opinion is I just don't think it's fully on Jeff Saturday. I think Matt Ryan is partially to blame for that too. You have a very well-experienced veteran quarterback who's been in big game scenarios like this, and he did nothing. He just stood out there, just existed. I think there's some to blame for player awareness, but obviously coaching is a huge opportunity here. When you bring in a high school football coach to coach in the NFL, these are the kind of things that happen. I don't give a fuck that he played in the NFL. He hasn't coached at the highest level. He hasn't even coached in college football. The speed of the game is significantly different. And as a coach, it's different from playing, right? It's not a parallel. So it's a lot. I think a lot of it is on Saturday, but I think Matt Ryan is also to blame for that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Aaron, we'll lead you off with this one. Steelers, Falcons. Steelers on the road in hot Atlanta. Who you got?
Yeah, this is a tough one because you have Atlanta, who's 4-2 on the road, Steelers 2-4 or at home, and Steelers 2-4 away. And I feel like the Falcons are sputtering a little bit, where they started kind of hot. The offense was looking good, putting up 13 last week to a Commanders team that's good, but I think the Falcons should have done a better job of scoring. And Steelers do have a decent defense, and I think it's possible that the Steelers can come in there, and I think they're starting to hit their stride with Pickett a little bit. Their offense is not phenomenal, but they're starting to be some, resemblance of good football at times and moments, little flashes and flares. Bobby, do you know the status of Najee? Is he
questionable?
Out?
Questionable. So it wasn't he didn't tear anything. So that's
super
at least
lucky.
That's at least good news. Whether he plays or not, I don't know. He did not practice today. So it's just kind of a wait and see game on how he feels. If I was a gambling man, I would say he probably plays limited snaps on Sunday, if he does play at all.
I'm going to take the Steelers here. I'm going to take the Steelers on the road. I think this is the part of the season where that Tomlin experience is going to start to come into play. They're 4-7. We were talking about what was their over under at the beginning of the year, like 7.5. Like they could backdoor this somehow at the end of the year. Like they're not in a terrible spot. I think you can see this offense start to show you what they can be next year. Kenny Pickett, putting together his second half. I'll take the Steelers here. I think they're playing better football.
Yeah, I mean, I'll dovetail off that. I like the Steelers defense more than I like the Falcons offense. The Steelers offense still has some room to work. I think it's a great week for Pickett to kind of figure it out if Najee doesn't play, because he's going to have to take on more of the responsibility on the offensive side. So without him playing, he's got to throw the ball, and the Falcons are a great team to do that against. So I'm gonna take the Steelers here as well.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I mean, you're looking at a secondary, although not quite as torn and tattered as they were just a couple of weeks ago. It's still a weak defense. It's a weak secondary, and it's a good opportunity for a rookie quarterback to take some chances. And he throws the ball he throws a nice ball. Well, it's getting better, right? I think that I watched him from the when he got subbed in that Jets game to now, and I see him being riskier than even Mitch Trubisky was to start the season at all, right? I think that's a sign of at least some confidence, and Kenny Pickett having some confidence in himself. And I saw him distribute the ball better last week. I think that's the best he's moved the ball to multiple people all season. Anybody that's a fantasy owner of Deontay Johnson just cringes week to week looking at his stat line, because you're looking at a guy that was minimum 5 catches last year, that he caught 5 on Monday night. That's his season high.
Yeah.
And obviously the connection that George Pickens and Pickett has is very well established. He's very well established with Pat Freiermuth. Pat Freiermuth slowly turning into a top 8 tight end in the NFL.
I love that.
It just seems to happen in Pittsburgh every time. They seem to bring in these really talented, tall, athletic,
under the radar
big tight ends. Yeah, and Freiermuth's a guy that when it's 3rd and 4 and you need to get the ball over the middle, he could cradle the ball and he gets you to the first down marker. I personally like watching him play. I think he's a fun tight end. It's a different change of pace.
He just reminds me of Heath Miller, like Heath Miller 2.0.
Yeah, I think we're obviously guys like Kelsey and Kyle Pitts and those guys who are the tall, athletic.
Yeah.
They even have a little bit of breakaway at tight end. Pat Freiermuth is kind of your blue-collar tight end. I enjoy watching him play the position that way. I'm also taking the Steelers here. I think this will be a much better game than I thought it was going to be a couple weeks ago. As you're looking in the future, I thought Atlanta would take this one pretty handily, but Pittsburgh keeps getting better week to week with the ball in their hands, and I'm interested to see if they do hit that 7.5 mark at the end of the year.
Yeah, Ted's coming with a comment here. He says he throws a good ball. If you watch him play, you can tell that he has that it factor. He just needs some more talent around him and some more experience. So I agree with that. I don't see Kenny Pickett being like a Mahomes,
nope.
Josh Allen level of quarterback.
What's his ceiling?
I that's a great question. I
have a name in mind. I'm curious yours though, as a Steelers fan.
I'm trying to think of I would probably put him in like obviously not mobility wise. I'd probably put him in like the Steve McNair range, where it's like he wasn't elite, but he was better than the average.
Yeah, so I was leaning more toward, and I guess I'm thinking a little bit more.
I'm not going like
modern or
legit
guys playing now.
comparison. I was just trying to think of.
No,
like,
I get you.
quality
I
wise.
say somewhere between like Stafford and Matt Ryan. At their,
I was gonna say, I thought Kirk Cousins.
I would say more. I would say better than Cousins, but not Mahomes.
I think that's the range I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I mean, Matt Ryan now it's easy to be like, well, that guy sucks, but like when he was
MVP
Atlanta,
Matt Ryan,
maybe
that's his ceiling. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely up for debate. I mean, obviously he's just got a different path because he's a smaller guy. You know, he's like a Russell Wilson, Pat Mahomes sized guy. But he doesn't quite have their mobility. He can move, but he's not on their level yet. And I don't think the arm strength is, quite where it needs to be for him to put the ball, 70 yards down the field. So
no, but he's good. He throws.
He's accurate.
Long ball, though.
He's accurate.
He throws a pretty good long ball. I mean, I've watched him make some plus 30-yard throws, and it's not far fetched to say that he's within a yard most of the time. And for a rookie, again, we're talking about a guy that hasn't put together a full season yet. And we're paralleling him with a Super Bowl winner and an MVP. So I think you're moving in the right direction. But until I could see him put 18 or 17 games together, I can't make a good comparison. Yeah, that's why I say Kirk Cousins, because I see the
I think that's a fair comparison.
Yeah, I see the ceiling get really, really, really high. And then I see things and I'm like, I don't know. It's just kind of, it's still real wobbly for me right now with him.
Oh yeah. There's nothing sure about
we got,
it.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to see him in a full off season, with, and then obviously a full preseason with the starting snaps, all that chemistry. Obviously they're going to add some pieces over the off season. Mystery makes a point here about George Pickens. George Pickens is unbelievable.
He's
I think
very talented.
Next year he is 100% going to be a top 10 receiver, if not top 5.
Ooh, that's a bold prediction.
That's pretty bold.
I think he's that talented.
I think he's that talented, but do you think the quarterback's the guy to get? Because you kind of need the quarterback there to elevate the receiver as well to get.
Kirk Cousins has Justin Jefferson in the top 5.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins has done it for a long time, and I think Kirk Cousins gets a lot.
Well, we just compared Pickens to Cousins.
Yeah, a little bit, but we're also saying ceiling, and I don't think he's going to hit his ceiling in year 2.
Yeah, fair enough.
You're right though. Pickens is a special talent to the NFL.
If he's not there next year, it will be within 2 years.
I agree. He has the talent to be in that conversation. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. Pickett's also somebody that could use some offensive line help, right? That's where Pittsburgh needs to start.
I thought we got that wrapped up in the offseason, but we definitely didn't. So
yeah, there's still a lot of edge
to make.
A lot of edge pressure that comes in Pittsburgh. They need some help at the tackle position for sure.
100%. All right, well, let's move on. Obviously, we actually just talking about Kirk Cousins. He's in the next game. We've got the New York Jets headed to Minnesota to take on Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. I'll lead this one off if you guys don't mind.
Let's hear it.
So Zach Wilson is unbelievable. And by unbelievable, I mean the man's lack of leadership is just astounding. Mike White came in and balled out last week. And
same. It's almost identical to what he did against the Bengals last year. 2 touchdowns in the first half, touchdown in the second half, 300 yards. We watched him do the same exact
Mike
thing.
White looked great last week. Kirk Cousins, I mean, they're 9-1 or they're 9-2. What is it? Is 9-1 or 9-2?
9-2.
9-2. I mean, we can't dismiss the Vikings and what they've accomplished. Obviously a couple weeks ago they got absolutely shellacked, but they came back and rebounded on Thanksgiving night against the Patriots. Although it was a close game, it's Thanksgiving, so I kind of take that with a grain of salt. It's also primetime Kirk Cousins, so the fact that Todd and I gambled on him at all was questionable, to say the least.
It was tough.
But This is a tough game. This could go either way. I assume Mike White's going to continue to start, just for the lack of ownership that Zach Wilson takes in his personal life and on the field. I'm gonna go with the Vikings in this one. I'm gonna take them for a third week straight. I don't know if that's the pick this week. My gut's telling me to lean the other way, but I'm gonna stick with the Vikings. They're 9-2. They've got the consistency. They're at home. It is primetime Kirk Cousins at 1:00. So I'm taking the Vikings. Todd.
I think here's the thing I'm most excited for in this week's matchup is Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing.
Covering Justin Jefferson. This is Sauce's really truly first.
This could be the week he gets scored on.
Yeah, like this is the guy that they are going to force you to cover him one-on-one, and Justin Jefferson is the most elusive wide receiver in the NFL right now. Like
that's a great point.
That's the thing I'm most excited for when I look at this game is like, I want to see what Sauce does against a clear all-pro top 3, top 2 wide receiver in the NFL.
Yep.
Does he hold up to the kind of to the prowess that kind of hovers around his name right now? I do think that the touchdown thing ends this week. I do think Justin Jefferson gets in the end zone against Sauce Gardner. I don't think it's going to be anything theatrical. I think it's going to be a red zone touchdown, and Sauce will be a little pissed off. It is what it is. But guys, this Jets defense is really good. Yeah. Right? That's the big thing. This is a tough defense. And I think going into the season, if you're going to tell me I was going to have a hard time picking this game, I would have told you you're crazy. Right? But I'm going to go on a flyer, boys. I'm taking the Jets.
Ooh.
Something in my gut's telling me to take the Jets this week, fellas. I
don't think my gut was leaning towards the Jets, but I'm going towards the stats.
I don't think Mike White goes out and throws for 300 and 3 tutties again, but I think this Jets defense figures out a way to keep the Vikings out of the end zone a couple times. I really do.
Aaron, I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
I like it. And Todd, you took the words right out of my mouth because I was going to highlight the Gardner-Jefferson matchup as well. That's probably the best matchup all week. This is probably, or at least
really is
one of the things I'm most excited to see on Red Zone. You know what I mean? Like to tune in and see what's going on over there. So I'm really excited about that. The other thing, Mike White just gives me some severe like Derek Anderson vibes, where it's like this guy can go out for 300, 3 tutties, no problem, sling it around the yard. He can also go 203 picks. And I think last week they were going up against Simeon, right? So, their defense is good, but they didn't really exactly have a tall task.
Right.
And
it wasn't the gauntlet.
It was easy for the Jets to get in their groove. I don't think that's going to be the case this week. I think the Jets have played very well this year. I think their fans should be really excited. I think Sauce Gardner is the pretty obvious defensive rookie of the year. And I think they're going to continue to get better. I'm going to go with the Vikings here just because I think they're the better team. But if we wake up Monday and the Jets have a W next to this one, I'm not going to be surprised.
No, same. This is one of those coin flip games that I figured we'd be split on.
Yep.
I just didn't know which way everybody was going to go. If I was a betting man, I'd say Corey is going to take the Jets. But
mystery.
I think he will too.
With the Bills played on Thursday, you might get lucky and be able to catch this one at 1:00. So I think
they'll probably get the Steelers Falcons at 1.
You think?
I mean, Pittsburgh is much closer to New York than
it's in Atlanta.
I guess it is. It is on the road.
Yeah,
but this game is also in Minnesota.
That's true. I don't know. Hopefully, you do get to watch this one. It's a good 1:00 game. This is my favorite 1:00 game this week, fellas.
It's going to be a good one. If the Steelers weren't playing, this is the game that I'd be watching. But Ted said there's just something about Zach Wilson, though. It may just be me, but he looks like Dexter 2.0. I swear he looks like a serial killer.
Yeah, for sure.
Serial killer, MILF hunter, however you want to call it. He's in that realm. All right, moving on. We've got the Jacksonville Jaguars coming off of was it last week that they beat the Ravens?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Coming off a great win against the Ravens, and the Lions coming off a heartbreaking L on Thanksgiving to the Bills. This is a tough game to pick, personally. The Lions played extremely well. The Jags just beat a very solid team. I don't know if Lamar Jackson's exactly earning that contract this year with the way that some of these games have played out. But no, this is going to be an interesting one. The Jags are on the road in Detroit. Aaron, I'll let you lead this one off.
Fuck. This is such a coin flip for me because I really can see the valor in both arguments. I really think that the Lions have been playing exceptional football the last couple of weeks, even in a loss last week to the Bills. They showed a lot to me. And then I believe it was 3 straight leading into that game that they had won. So the Lions are starting to find their groove. On the other hand, there's the Jaguars who, pretty ballsy to go for that 2-point conversion there at the end. And I kind of love that they did that because that's Doug Peterson putting his nuts on the line. And I've seen the difference between Doug Peterson and Urban Meyer from last year with a lot of the same talent on the roster. The Jaguars have a lot of ways to go. I like Trevor Lawrence. I like what we've seen out of him, but I still want to see more. God, I'm going to take the Lions at home here. It's honestly simply because they are at home. I think this is a coin flip game, and I think it's home field advantage that gives you the obvious advantage in this one. And 3 straight coming into a loss against the Bills, I think the Lions are just kind of in a little bit better of a groove total.
Sure, Todd.
Yeah, look, we've talked a lot about Trevor Lawrence, playing these kind of these two sides of the fence where we watch him make these really big. I mean, that last drive in the last 2 minutes of that Ravens game was a performance from him. He threw everything. Everything was on a dime. He was mobile. He made great reads. He got people open. It was an exceptional drive. But then I've also watched Trevor Lawrence throw 3 balls into the ground with nobody around. Right. So I think that this is coming off of a really big emotional win like they just did in Baltimore. Then you have to go in to play the Lions at Ford Field. I think this is where they kind of falter back and get back into cruise control, right? They're not really thinking about what they're doing. They're just there to play football. And I think that with what Detroit has done defensively in the last 2 weeks and getting better on that side of the ball with really limited resources that they have, right? I mean, we're talking about a defense that gives up damn near 500 yards a game and held their own against Buffalo in the second half and really kept them out of the end zone for most of the second half. And that offense is still well-oiled. They have all 3 of their running backs are 100% healthy. We watched Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift and Justin Jackson play very well off of each other. We saw 2 of the 3 get in the end zone. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a great game. I think the Lions are going to take this one, fellas. I think that offense is getting back into, it's rolling. I think just as, obviously if you watched post games from that Jags game, everybody is committed to Doug Peterson. I think it's even more significant how committed these guys are to Dan Campbell in Detroit.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, man. This is a tough one. It's hard to bet against the Lions considering the performance they put up last week against the Bills, which I would, considerably put above the Baltimore Ravens at this point with the way that their season is trending. I'm going to take the Lions. I like their ability to put points on the board. Jacksonville's defense, they show up when they want to show up, and it's hit and miss with that. But the Lions' offense has been consistent against some good defense. So, I like Dan Campbell and what he's got going on there in Detroit. So, I'm gonna ride with the Lions with you on this one.
And I think that's the right choice. You have, Lions are coming off a little bit of an extra break from Thanksgiving, at home.
Yeah,
that's just. But Jags could win that game. Jags could win.
They very well could. That's a game that could go either way. All right, well, let's head over to Philadelphia for this next one. We've got the Titans on the road taking on the Eagles. I don't think this one's going to be too terribly difficult for the panel here, chat. We're all taking the Eagles, right?
Yeah, on Saturday and Sunday. Go USA men's soccer.
Hell yeah. Anything you guys want to touch on about this game, or what performance
Eagles are
last week,
legit, man. This is a legitimate Super Bowl contender team. I really love what Jalen Hurts has been doing this year. I had highlighted it at the beginning of the year. They have a weak schedule, but I think they're blowing teams, or they're playing very, very well.
Yeah. Todd, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I think you're going to watch Philadelphia continue to roll. Tennessee's coming off of a pretty tough loss against the Bengals, right? I mean, they were toe to toe with Cincinnati for the whole game, and a penalty cost them a chance to get back into it in the 2-minute drill. So I think they're feeling a little bit of burn from that, and Philadelphia is just those Philly fans are just riding the eagle high. So I'm taking Philadelphia at home for sure. There's something to be said about playing in Philadelphia. Like it's got to be damn near impossible to lose in that stadium when you're successful for the
electric.
Season. Yeah, all those drunk, crazy Philadelphians just puking all over the stadium. It's got to be nuts.
Yeah, it's got to be insane. Doubling back on the previous game, Mystery coming in with a couple comments here. Lawrence is playing like a first-round QB in his rookie season. He's probably the guy. But Mystery likes the Lions in this one too. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that Trevor Lawrence is having a solid season so far. At least for the cards that he's been dealt. So, which have been, not necessarily the easiest. And then you got Philly. Yeah, we all got Philly. All right, moving on to a game that is close to one of our hearts, and a game that we all are going to watch. It's Deshaun Watson, the comeback week against
We're absolutely going to watch this.
We have talked about this. We talked about it religiously for like the first, 3 or 4 weeks of the season. And even before the season started, a couple of months going into it, leading up with all the offseason issues. But this is the game that we've been waiting for. Deshaun Watson hasn't played a football game in over 2 years.
700 days.
700 days.
700 days.
Played football. That's absolutely insane. Aaron, we'll let you take the reins on this one since it's the Brownies. So go for it.
Yeah. So before I get into it, previewing this one, I just kind of want to give a big shout out to Jacoby Brissett, who played nothing but admirably.
Here to Jacoby Brissett. What a fucking G.
Phenomenal job this year. He's been nothing but professional and, has said all the right things and saying, I know what I signed up for. The guy's been playing well enough where, if it's anybody else and somebody you're not paying $240 million to, you have that conversation. Now the Browns are 4-7, so it's you're at the point now where it doesn't even matter. You have to see what you got in the guy you gave a guaranteed $240 million contract to. So we can start there, but he did a phenomenal job. And I made this comment on a previous podcast. He's probably like the best Browns quarterback we've seen in a long time, if not since '99, maybe outside of Tim Couch. And I was joking with one of my buddies that take the guy out of it, and let's just say this faceless player is like a first or second year guy on the Browns. We're like, we found him. We got our guy. This is our franchise. So it's crazy to look at it through that lens. But yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Jacoby. So, I mean, from a game perspective, I think the Browns handle this one fairly easily. I mean, the Texans are probably the worst team in the league, but there's going to be a lot more energy in that building because of the situation of Deshaun Watson being a former Houston Texan and, a disgraced one at that. So we're going to talk about it a lot. And, if you haven't heard my comments on it, I implore you to go and listen to any time we've talked about Deshaun Watson. But now we're in the middle of the football season and it's time to talk football about it. If you guys want to touch on the other stuff, there's no problem with it, but I'm middle of season mode. And,
I think we've said all we need to say about what exactly went on with football. That. Let's just analyze the game. What we think is going to happen there.
So from Deshaun's perspective, like you guys said, he hasn't played in 700 days. You're going to see a rusty looking Deshaun Watson. Oh, yeah. I also think you're going to see Nick Chubb in the first time in his career not be the focal point of what the defense is necessarily looking at. The offensive line has been playing good. Nick Chubb has been playing elite as always. Amari Cooper has been playing well. David Njoku, we were talking about top 8 tight ends, has really solidified himself this year. And we saw that catch Odell he made in the end zone to get the Browns over.
That was a crazy catch.
It's honestly nice to see him finally get it going because he was so hyped up. and he was having such just a bad time in Cleveland. And I'm just finally glad to see him. Like, we're not losing another great player because of shit quarterbacks.
Well, it's not. I mean, part of it was, I mean, he dropped a lot of balls. Like, he was always a hyper athlete, and it's good to see him kind of put it all together. But one of the things he always was a really excellent run blocker at the tight end position. So even when he wasn't catching balls, he still deserved to be out there. But he's such a good athlete that if you can get him in space and those over the top balls like we saw against Tampa Bay, he's really, he's certainly not Kelsey or Andrews or Kyle Pitts or anything like that, but he's certainly that second tier, in my opinion, of the top tight ends in the league. Listen, Houston, this is going to be a hell of a warm-up game for Deshaun, I'll tell you that, but everyone in the world is going to be rooting for the Texans, I know.
Yeah, so you got the Browns in this.
Oh, yeah, I got the Browns, and I know everyone's going to be rooting against them and rooting against Deshaun, and I totally understand
you would be
that.
doing yourself a disservice if you went against your fandom as a collective whole.
Right.
So,
no, well, and the only point I'll leave with it, because I know everyone wants to, it's very easy to go fuck this guy, because trust me, I get it. Now that we're playing football, and this is a purely hypothetical, because everyone's going to root against the Browns, and I've made peace with that. I think the Browns' last game is against the Steelers, and it probably won't have any playoff implications for it. But let's say the Cleveland Browns are playing a team that you need to beat so your team can get into the playoffs. What are you going to do? Are you going to just root against the Browns, or are you going to put your fan hat on and root for them because you want your team to make the playoffs?
Sure.
So put yourself in that situation, and I think everyone would make that choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because football's a fucking bloodthirsty sport, and it is what it is, and it's the largest business in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, Todd.
Look, I agree with Aaron. I'm taking the Browns here, and I solely believe it's because the Texans are the worst team in the NFL. I don't care how rusty you are. Deshaun Watson is what he is on the field. He's still going to make plays. It's not going to – I mean, we're watching a guy that hasn't taken live action snaps into a game that means something in damn near 2 years. It is what it is, right? You're not. He's not going to be polished. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to put a lot of hate on the dude for lack of quality in his game or lack of efficiency, whatever. Don't do anything for 2 years and then try to pick it back up at full speed. You're not going to be good at it. It is what it is.
That's like me trying to go out and run a 40 right now.
Yeah, but the difference there is I hear what you're saying, but like if I stopped playing guitar for 2 years and picked it up, it would be really weird. But that's only if I was playing concerts, not practicing on the side.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's not like he hasn't done it.
No. Well,
it's a whole different animal, though.
Well, there's something to be said about taking a live action snap versus practicing to take live
100%.
action snaps, though.
It's kind of like when Mike Vick came back.
That's a good example.
From his extended, because I mean I think he spent more time away from the game than Deshaun did.
Yeah, 3 full seasons. 3 full seasons out of the NFL.
3 seasons.
Yeah.
There was obviously a little bit there, but I mean, I think watching Mike Vick when he came back, I think it took him maybe, half of the couple drives, maybe the first quarter, and then you're like, okay, he's there, he's back.
Yeah, we just
I don't think it's going to be that long of a transition for Deshaun, especially against his Houston team. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Browns win by 3 scores. I think the Browns just absolutely go out and beat ass this week.
I'd be very surprised.
I still think
Damian Pierce is going to fucking feast this game.
I think so. So I think that's a good point. I wanted to make that point about Houston. I think we watched them get down so quickly against the Dolphins last week that Kyle Allen was literally just all they did was throw the ball in the second half. They ran the ball one time in the second half and they scored a touchdown on it. You're going to watch Damian Pierce go to town on Cleveland's defense. He is going to run worst run defense. Yeah, he is going to run all over them. I think that this is a potential 100-yard game on the ground for him.
2 scores, 100 yards.
Yeah,
I believe that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I have him in 3 leagues, and I'm hitting the lineup button for him because he's got to be in the lineup for me.
Well, I mean, to the point that Aaron made a little bit earlier about Chubb having the opportunity for the eyes to not solely be on him, I think that makes this a great game for him and Kareem Hunt. Because they're going to be really dialed in on Deshaun Watson and making sure that, Deshaun Watson doesn't come and tear them up, in his first game back in Houston where he left. I would say Nick Chubb's probably. I think Nick Chubb's going to go for at least $125, in 2 tutties.
I like it.
I think they're going to use a lot of read option with Deshaun and Nick
absolutely.
Chubb.
This is good. This is going to be a run heavy game on both sides of the ball. But I like Cleveland's running game more than I like Houston's. Although I love Dameon Pierce.
Yeah, I'm taking Nick Chubb over Dameon Pierce 115 times out of 100.
Just from a fantasy perspective, you've seen Pierce struggle the last couple of weeks because he's the sole thing on Houston's offense that you really have to take away, and it's a lot easier to take away the run game. Cleveland has just Mack truck size lanes regardless. So if you have Pierce, play him with confidence.
Yeah, no, Dameon Pierce is going to have a good week this week. Let's move on to one of the more lackluster games of the week. I don't know. It could be exciting. We'll see. We'll see what the panel has to say here. We've got the Commanders on the road taking on the Giants.
I think this is an exciting game.
I like this game. Yeah,
this is a wild card game.
It's just 2 playoff teams. Yeah.
God, you're talking about a team that's won 6 games in a row, if I'm not mistaken, right? The Commanders, or is it 5?
Yeah, 5. I guess you're right. I didn't think about it like that.
This is a 7-5 and a 7-4 matchup.
Okay, if
wildcard teams that we're
if you could have put a parlay bet on that they were going to be these records going into week 13, I would love to have seen the odds on that going into the season. It's probably 1,000,000 to 1.
I mean, you're talking about a division wild card matchup.
Okay, I stand corrected. This is going to be probably
it's a big game.
Is this a 4 o'clock or a 1 o'clock this week?
This is a 1 o'clock game. This is a
dude. The 1 o'clock time slot is absolutely stacked.
Well, yeah, when you got 11 games, it makes it pretty easy.
Yeah,
shit,
that's true.
We might have to go. We might have to go to the bar on Sunday, Todd. Find somewhere that's got all the games up.
Okay,
Todd sold.
You had me at let's go to the bar.
Actually, that's a great point. This is a great sit at the bar all the televisions week.
Yeah. I mean, because you can't get all that action at home as much as you want to have it. Pun intended.
Dude, I could do a 3 TV setup in the living room, buddy. You just give me 20
remember, was that last year when I brought both TVs down? I had the computer up in my living room.
Yeah,
I had a Sunday ticket. I had it all, man.
I'll run a Sunday ticket trial and bring some TVs down. We can watch some football that way. I got about 4 or 5 extra screens in this house somewhere where I can make it happen.
I can bring my laptop over.
Let's do it.
At a minimum, you always have to have the dual.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's usually mine's TV.
TV laptop. Yeah, that's 2 screens though. That's 2 screens.
Yeah.
I mean, or if Declan's on,
well, you know what you could do, Todd, is you could have one on the computer that you're on now. We've got the TV, and then we could bring a laptop over. And just log into all the accounts, and then
I'm in.
We could have at least 3 games on.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, sold. My Sunday is taken up. There will be no stream on Sunday, chat.
Gentlemen, you weren't on the podcast last week. Bruce scared the shit out of me.
That was hilarious, by the way. I saw that. I was on.
So you see this coat rack behind me, right? So I had the Reds hat that's right here that was on the top, and Bruce was like, "Is there someone? I don't know, something like
was someone standing behind you, just ominously?"
And I like panic hit my body for a second because I blinked and looked. I was like, "Oh shit, there's somebody behind me." But yeah, so the hat is off the top part of the coat rack, Bruce. That I did that immediately after the podcast was over. I was about to piss my pants, and I did that before I did anything else.
Oh my god, that's too good. Yeah, because I didn't notice. I was watching you guys, and Bruce pointed out. I was like, "Holy shit, is somebody there?"
It legitimately put fear into my body for 3 seconds. So,
yeah,
it's gone.
No, absolutely. All right, let's get back to it. Mystery says, "What the fuck? Commanders are winning with good play, not accidentally." Yeah, I mean, you got Taylor Heineke, man. That guy is playing some good football right now.
He's a winner. That's all it comes down to. The dude just knows how to win.
Shout out to Brian Robinson last week going for over 100 in a tutty.
Yeah,
this man is literally a month and a half removed from getting shot, and he's out there just dropping 100-yard games and
running hard,
good.
Yeah,
that Gibson Brian Robinson tandem in the backfield is nice.
I agree.
Yeah, that's a nice duo back there, and
they got a good stable of receivers too.
Yes, that's what I was going to roll right into it. You have 2 former Ohio State receivers and Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin, who both catch the ball very well. Logan Thomas, who's a good receiving tight end, right? I think most of the weapons are there. And oh, by the way, Chase Young's back this week, fellas. We're gonna get Chase Young back. We haven't seen him in over a year, right? And he was the number 2 pick in the draft for a reason. I mean, Washington took him where they did because he's an unbelievable athlete who only knows how to get to the quarterback. Yeah. I think that this is a matchup where I see Washington taking another dub here. I think we're starting to watch the flame kind of go out in the NFC for New York. I see the Giants starting to kind of putter a little bit. And then if Washington's able to slow down Saquon Barkley, it forces Daniel Jones to throw to somebody, right? He's lost most of his best weapons on, at the wide receiver position. So I'm taking the Commanders here. This is one of my, it's going to be on the TV games because I think it's going to be a really good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Aaron.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm taking the Commanders. I think me and Todd were kind of doing a little yin and yang there, talking about it all, and it's all the same points. They have good guys on offense. Their defense is playing at a top 10, if not 5 in the league right now. And of course, you're bringing back your best defensive player this week. We'll see how he's doing. I'm sure they're going to have to rotate him in, but they were still good enough in his absence where, just him being back is obviously going to be a plus on defense.
Yeah,
sure. We've seen him be an absolute game wrecker. We'll see what we get out of him, but I'm happy to see that he's going to be back there.
Me too.
And I agree. I think when you're looking at the line graph, you're looking at the Commanders on the upswing and the Giants on the downswing. Not that the Giants can't turn it around, but I'm not a huge Daniel Jones believer. I think Saquon Barkley has been good, but game plannable. And what I mean by that is, the defense is same. The Giants are obviously better than the Texans, but it's the same thing we were just talking about.
Daniel Jones needs to beat me if they're going to win.
Exactly. So I'm taking the Commanders here. I agree with you, Todd. I think this is going to be a phenomenal game. Again, another great game in the 1:00 slate. I'm actually surprised though. Bobby, I'm assuming you're on the same side here, but I thought we were going to have a little bit more discrepancy on this one. I'd be interested to see what Corey does.
No, I'm riding the Taylor Heineke train. Is that how you say his last name? Is it Heineke?
Heineke, yeah.
Heineke.
Heineken. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, with Chase Young coming back, Brian Robinson's a beast. Todd said it. The only offensive weapon on the Giants have is Saquon Barkley.
Right.
That's it. Daniel Jones needs to beat me if you're gonna win. And I like the Commanders defense going up against the Giants. I see. What's the spread on this? I would be curious. But I don't see this game being as close as we think it's going to be.
It's Washington 2.5 is what I
really. I have it at 1.5.
I am absolutely smashing.
I mean, there could just be
smashing the money line for the Commanders, smashing it.
I think this is finally we talked about. I think we talked a lot about this last year with Washington. This is the defense that we all projected for them, right? Or what was
this is the defense that I drafted last year in fantasy that did nothing.
Yeah, I think you're finally seeing a lot of the pieces come together, and Aaron's absolutely right. Having Chase Young back, whether it's in a rotation or not, only makes you better because you're paying attention to that guy. He's the guy that you're singling out, or you're double, putting 2 linemen on, or a tackle and a tight end on, and you create additional pressure elsewhere. I think that it seems like at the end of the day, I like a good underdog story, if you will, right? And the Commanders at one point in time, we talked about them being a top 5 pick in the draft, myself included. I'm guilty of that. With Carson Wentz as a quarterback, right? I just want to preface by saying that. At that point in time, Carson Wentz was going to be the season-long quarterback for the Commanders. But I like it. I like watching a team that's not the Cowboys get some.
Is Carson Wentz done? Do you think he comes back next year?
No,
as a backup.
I mean, even as a backup,
somewhere. He goes somewhere else.
Play somewhere,
yeah, he's a backup somewhere else, right? He's not in Washington. He's a backup somewhere else. I think he's solidified his position in the NFL as not being able to cut it. right? It is what it is. He just can't. He doesn't have big game. He doesn't have big playability, and he doesn't have the just general ability to keep you in a game. He did it he did it for a while early on, but it's just not there.
He'd be a fine backup.
Yeah, I think his soul kind of got crushed when he got hurt and Nick Foles took over and won the Super Bowl and kind of.
It absolutely changed him. Yeah. I don't think that there's anyone that would argue that.
He was having an MVP season before he got.
Yeah. I mean, it completely changed. It changes who you are when a community just turns their back on you, right? Which is kind of what happened with him.
Yeah. Obviously, same thing for Matt Ryan. Similar situation. Well, not similar, but similar scenario where he, obviously lost a big lead and was never the same. So just obviously, there's some big turning points in their careers. That can definitely change a human. Carson Wentz was definitely once a top tier quarterback, and that's obviously not going to happen from this point moving forward. So it's unfortunate to see. You never want to, you hate to see that for a guy. You definitely feel for him. Definitely a guy that had the ability and just can't get out of his own head. So
yeah.
But all right. So we all three got the Commanders. I will be interested to see if Corey does take a flyer on that one and take the Giants. It wouldn't surprise me, but I think he's going to roll with the Commanders. That's my bet. Just because they're just on such a hot streak right now. Moving on to the Broncos game. I was waiting for this game because I want to throw this little quip out there for you that I read on.
I've
Facebook.
been waiting for this.
All right, the Broncos are on the road versus the Ravens. I'll make my pick. I'm taking the Ravens. I don't believe in the Broncos in any way, shape, or form. Russell Wilson is on pace to throw less touchdowns than bathrooms in his house for the entire season, which is hilarious. That stat is being tracked, but it is still being tracked to this day. That's not the quip. So Melvin Gordon, I think he put out a tweet. I read it on Facebook, but it was like a picture of a tweet. He said, I'm not Matt. Mystery, we're talking about Carson Wentz. Unless you were just saying Carson. Exactly.
I think that was a dig on Carson Wentz.
Yeah. So, but Melvin Gordon quoted himself saying that Russell Wilson made them warm up to Will Smith. And it wasn't even Big Willie style. It was Willennium. And that was it. That's the only soundtrack that they listened to. Willennium.
Is that true? Is that something that really
Melvin
happened?
Gordon tweeted it. I don't know if it's true or not, or if he's just like being an asshole, but
it's believable.
That's what I'm saying. Like, would it surprise you?
No. Look, anything that you tell me that this guy does that's abnormal, I just believe it.
Well, right? I'm laughing because the whole birthday thing that came out today. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Which is literally the plot to draft day. A Wisconsin quarterback who people don't show up for his birthday, who gets drafted by the Seahawks. Just fucking weird, man.
But then traded to the Browns.
No,
it's a miss.
No.
Oh no, that was the running back.
I want my picks back,
defense.
you pancake eating fuck.
Right. Draft day. The fucking Browns.
What a terrible movie.
Ultimate
it's
movie.
a terrible movie, but it's hilarious because it's terrible.
Costner.
Big shout out. So, the new season of Yellowstone is out currently. I haven't watched it yet. I'm waiting for it to wrap up before I start.
I'm waiting until the whole season's done.
I just want to binge it. I'm working my way through 1883 right now because 1923 comes out on December 18th. Sorry, quick sidebar. If you haven't watched Yellowstone, watch it. And then backtrack and go watch 1883. Tim McGraw and Faith Hill are absolutely amazing together. Wonder why I don't know why they have such chemistry.
Weird that they have such good chemistry.
But no, it's an excellent show. And then 1923 is the sequel to the prequel.
Yep.
And it's starring Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, which that's just going to be phenomenal. So.
Boy, they're milking this cash cow, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I saw children's Halloween costumes for Yellowstone. I looked at Mary, I was like, what 4-year-old is watching Yellowstone and understands what they're wearing?
What 4-year-old is walking around as Rip? Like, that's what I want to know.
That's gonna be my new daily attire.
All right, couple comments in here. The Broncos have the mystery. I mean, I wouldn't say decades. I think that's a little too long. I mean, they still had a little bit of.
They did win a Super Bowl.
They won a Super Bowl within the last 10 years. That was Peyton Manning. But I mean, outside of that year, I mean, yes, you're absolutely correct. You know, I would say for the last 2 decades they haven't been great, and I would put a lot of that on John Elway, and some of the decisions made in the front office. But yeah, Tez, those are great shows. We love them. So if you haven't watched them, go watch them. All right, Broncos, Ravens. I'm taking the Ravens.
Yeah, Bruce added in Russell Wilson's plug for what it's worth. That was his comment. This is Russell Wilson plugging into charge. That's what that is. Anyway. I know he's plugging the show, but that's just his bets. Russell Wilson's like a 2015 Tesla Model 3. You've already gotten what you wanted out of it. Now you got to charge it more often than what you feel like is necessary.
The battery is degrading.
It's just losing. It's starting to corrode just a little bit. Bobby, you said you're taking the Ravens. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. Yeah, no, it's just like any technology. You know, it's more susceptible to viruses as the years go on, and maybe he's succumbed to some of that.
Yeah.
And that's why we're listening to Millennium on repeat for practice and warm ups. God, I would shoot myself in the face. Big Willie style, I could handle because
That's what makes it worse. It's Millennium.
Yeah. Right. I was like, I mean, Big Willie style. I jammed to that shit as a kid. That was one of the first CDs I ever had in my CD player.
Right.
I fucking loved it.
Yeah, because Wild West had just came out too. So you were listening to the Wild West soundtrack. You were listening to
getting jiggy with it.
Yeah, no one. You know
Miami.
who listens to Millennium? Robots.
Yeah,
because that's their soundtrack. That's their coding soundtrack.
There's so many great examples of this. It'd be hilarious if he just did this all the time. Where he's like, "Hey guys, you want to come over and watch my favorite Coen Brothers movie?" And you're like, "Oh, Fargo, Big Lebowski, No Country for Old Men." And he's like, "No, we're gonna watch Hail Caesar."
Guys, if you want to watch this back in multiple clips, these will be shorts for us in the very near future. Just be prepared for that.
He's just the worst.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to the game here and move on. All right. I'm taking the Ravens here. I don't think anything really else needs to be said. I know the Ravens took a bad L last week, but I just don't trust this Broncos offense with any shade of my imagination. I know Aaron's taking the Ravens, unless there's somebody next to you. I don't know if I don't know if the code rack man is standing behind Aaron or not.
Yeah.
Shit. So I just want to. I'm also taking the Ravens, but I just want to say one thing. I think we're watching. I've watched the Ravens offense for really the last 6 weeks slow down and not pick any speed back up. Lamar Jackson's playing himself out of money every single week. I just want to point that out. I mean, weeks 1 and 2, I'm like, oh my God, this guy's going to get a monster contract, right? He's going to rush for 1,000, throw for 4,000. It's going to be absurd. And then I've just watched him not make big plays or really just plays to keep a drive going. I think that's my big thing for him is that he stonewalls a lot of drives by just bad decisions. And I don't think that's anything different in his career. I think we've watched him not always be the best decision maker or not be the most accurate, but shit, I thought that the way he started the season, I was like, oh, this is MVP Lamar. You're going to watch him do really
It's like
big
watching
things.
a stock. It's like at first it's like, and you're like, damn it, I wish I would have bought. And then now it's just steadily just falling and falling.
He is Carvana in the NFL if we're comparing stocks. He is, right? You bought it way too high. You bought it at $200 something a share, and you're like, oh shit, it went to $8 a share. What am I gonna do now? That's kind of where he's at right now.
I've just invested my life savings.
And he has to run the rest of the AFC gauntlet too. And I think you're gonna watch him. I mean, they have the easiest schedule through the rest of the year, right? The Ravens do. But I think that there's still gonna be a couple games where they within the AFC North where they struggle. I think they struggle against Pittsburgh, and I think the Browns even play them tough with Lamar back.
I mean, I think the Ravens still beat Pittsburgh, but I think they struggle a little bit more than I would have guessed at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it's good. It'll be closer games.
We'll see how these next couple weeks go. I might change my thoughts on that, but I would imagine Corey's taking the Ravens. I think he's the number one Russell Wilson hater here. I don't know. I don't know if anybody wants to claim that title as the number one Russell Wilson hater. I'll definitely claim the Pete Carroll title, but if you guys want to fight over that, that's fine.
I don't trust robots, so I don't.
I feel like it's just a combined hatred, because I don't know who would be the biggest hater when we all equally just fucking hate the guy.
We'll use the power of friendship.
Yeah.
Bruce has come in the stream and said, I do. I do. He hates him.
I fucking love it.
I love it.
I fucking love it. And another reason, just to backtrack, I saw this comment. I forgot to mention it. Another reason to take the Commanders this week is Bruce said he's taking the Giants.
Good call.
Bruce's bad luck. So, and he says that himself. All right, let's move on to the next game. This is going to be an excellent game. We've got the Miami Dolphins headed to the West Coast to take on the Niners. I just got chills. Like this game
is like my sneaky game of the week.
This is going to be a great football game right here. Tua with the highest passer rating in the NFL, going into Week 13, going up against Jimmy G, who has some unbelievable win-loss stats with absolutely zero effort. It's just unbelievable what Jimmy G has done. He's like that guy in the group project that just kind of just shows up and still gets an A.
Yeah, he's your guy that talks for the last 45 seconds at the group presentation.
Absolutely, 1,000%. Todd, lead us off here. Dolphins, Niners takes. Who you got?
This is a good game, boys. I think this is the second best game of the week right here.
Yeah,
I'm very interested to see what Tua does against this Niners defense. That's the big thing because they're going to come at him heavy. Ton of pressure on Tua this week from San Francisco. I believe Armstead's going to be back. I know he's still questionable right now, but he practiced today, so that's another edge rusher threat. Obviously, you have a Bosa coming at you. That itself is scary, right? You're looking at a guy that could get in the backfield pretty much whenever he wants. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the Dolphins lost Teron Armstead last week, right?
I'm not sure.
So left tackle you go out and give monster money to in the offseason. I'm looking at him as doubtful right now, fellas, and that's bad news for Tua.
Let's take a look
right
here.
That's even more pressure because now you have a backup left tackle coming in and taking care of you. Fortunately, it's not his blind side, so he's in a little bit better position there. But I see Bosa rushing from his blind side off frequently on Sunday. And I see the Niners doing just enough to beat the Dolphins. I think we've watched the Dolphins play really, really good football, but they haven't been very contested, right? In games where they have been contested, i.e. the Bengals game on Thursday night, they didn't beat them. Their big win is, against the Bills, right?
Sure.
I would say the Ravens, but I don't feel like that Ravens comeback is as big of a victory as it once was.
Yeah. So via the Miami Herald, Teron Armstead did not practice today. Mike McDaniel came out today and said he is not expecting him to play.
That's big.
After the injury. So
yeah, I mean, you're talking about a top 5 tackle in the NFL and Teron Armstead, and not having that out there against San Francisco is pretty pertinent.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't rule him out, but he's not expected to play.
So we call that doubtful in the NFL world.
Yeah.
So doubtful usually means no.
Yeah,
he had a partial. So it said he had a grade 2 pectoral strain, also known as a partial tear, which for a tackle,
that's pretty damn important.
It's very important that you have the ability to use your pectoral muscles, your chest, to push people and grab them.
In some capacity.
So,
Carp, thanks for liking the stream, buddy. Appreciate you stopping in.
Yeah, Mystery coming in the comments said it will be a great defensive game, but Mystery's got the Niners. Aaron, who do you have?
Yeah, I think the thing I'm most excited to see for this game is it's the young Padawan against the master, McDaniel and Shanahan. I think that's something that's going to be really interesting with this. I think you're going to see a lot of I think these are two of the sharpest young minds in the NFL. And I've really enjoyed what I've seen McDaniel do in his short time down there in Miami. I'm going to take the Dolphins here. I think they're rolling. I think they're playing excellent offense. And Todd, I think you bring up a great point with the left tackle. That's certainly something to look out for. The San Francisco 49ers probably have the best defense in the league, not, maybe saving Dallas. And it's going to be an amazing matchup between the two. I don't trust the 49ers to put up the points in the same way. I don't love Jimmy G. Obviously, having McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, everything like that, they certainly have the weapons. But boy, just the way that Tyreek Hill can just game break, and obviously having Waddle as a number 2, really when he arguably could be a number 1 for a team. I think Tua has been playing great football this year. I know it's been talked about, and obviously everyone focuses on the injury and the concussion he had this year. But I think it's taking away from a truly career-defining season where I think everyone last year was pretty down on Tua, and he's done a complete 180 that I just haven't seen, or I haven't remembered seeing in the recent past. I'm just gonna roll with the Dolphins just because I just like the way they're playing right now. But this is probably the game I'm most excited to watch on Sunday.
Todd, I'm sorry, I missed your pick as I was looking up that Todd and Armstead information. Who did you have?
I'm taking the Niners.
Okay.
Taking the Niners.
I figured this was going to be a split in general.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough game, man. What's the spread on this?
San Francisco's 2.5 is what I have.
Yeah.
Okay. God, that's awful.
Oh wow, I have 4.
I'm sorry. I was reading. Yeah, 4. 4 is correct. San Francisco 4. I apologize.
San Francisco,
I was reading
4 points at home, so obviously favored a little bit.
Still be
not
favored.
A ton. It's just, oh my God, I want to look at some past history here. So the Niners beat the Saints.
Shut them out.
Yeah, less than 200 yards
from
the Saints.
It's a great matchup because the Niners just shut out the Saints, and the Dolphins have just been putting up 30 points at ease.
Yeah, I mean,
Tua had 300.
Played the Texans last week, so that's not really a challenge.
I know.
Yeah, but Tua also threw for 300 yards in the first half of that game.
Right.
He threw for 299 yards in one half. And
the Dolphins have not played great teams their last couple of weeks. They've had the Texans, Browns, Bears, Lions, Steelers.
Sheesh. I gotta ride the Tua train here, man. There's too much going on with Tua. I like him better than I like Jimmy G. I like the weapons offensively that Tua has versus the weapons that Jimmy G has, or maybe not necessarily better, but his inability to use those weapons to their full potential. I like the 49ers defense better, but I think Tua finds a way to get it done. Obviously barring some, insane thing that happens to Tua, I think the Dolphins pull this one. It's going to be close, though. I think it comes down to a field goal.
Yeah.
Either way.
Cart brings up a good clip I saw today too. He said, "I hate McDaniel until I heard him talking shit to the players through the helmet mic. He was doing it to Tua, talking shit to Tua about watching some high school footage of him and talking about how trash he was in high school."
I saw that. That was so good.
How could you have not liked McDaniel anyway, though? He's a pot smoker.
I don't hate McDaniel. Yeah, he's great.
It's. I think he breaks the mold of coach. Yeah. I think it's great too. I think he's a guy that's young, doesn't give a fuck, says whatever he feels.
He knows he's a smart coach. He knows he's a smart dude.
I didn't even think about your perspective, Aaron, of like, this is a big coaching matchup, right? Because
I'm excited.
This is the guy that kind of, this is the family that brought him into the coaching world.
He was a very outside the box hire.
Yeah, so that's a good perspective of this. I'm going to watch that.
God, Bruce took the Dolphins. I need to flip flop my pick, guys.
I was feeling the same way when you took the Dolphins. I'm just kidding. Everyone, hop on the wagon. We're rolling. Let's go Dolphins.
Chat. That's going to wrap up the show tonight. You guys have a great rest of your evening. Fuck Aaron. No, I still have confidence in the Dolphins there. But I'm interested to see where Corey goes on that. I'm interested to see which side he leans.
If I had to bet, I would bet he takes the Niners.
Well,
but we'll see.
You know,
otherwise it's Todd Island over there with the favorite.
Hey.
I like it.
All right, moving forward.
Bruce said, "Who else did you pick, Bobby? Don't tell him."
I mean, no, it's too late. So next game we got on the board, we've got my favorite coach in the NFL. We got Pete Carroll headed to LA to take on the Rams, and probably my actual favorite coach in the NFL, Sean McVay. I love Sean McVay. I think he's great. But we got the Rams taking on the Seahawks. This is a tough game. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be an exciting game, but it's definitely going to be a close game, in my opinion. You know, I like what the Seahawks have done. I do have to give some props to Pete Carroll and what he's accomplished with the team and the pieces that he has to work with this season. I think he's done a nice job with it. And that's a lot coming from me. So that being said, I think the Rams are favored at home if I'm not mistaken.
No.
They're on their backup. Stafford's out.
Oh, Stafford's not playing.
Yeah, he's still concussed. So you're gonna it's Seahawks.
Okay, I'm taking the Seahawks.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were doing the whole preamble there, and I was like, this one's pretty easy for me. I'm hammering the Hawks here.
Okay, yeah, I got. I didn't know Stafford wasn't playing. I'm taking the Hawks.
Yeah.
So no
Donald's
Cooper
out
Kupp,
too.
no Aaron Robinson or Allen Robinson, no Aaron Donald, no Matt Stafford. Sean McVay might be injured. I don't know if you guys saw him with the helmet last week. Got fucking knocked his lights out. Poor guy had a swollen face for the rest.
Head
of the
coach
game.
has a stage 3 concussion.
Guys, I have the Rams as the third worst team in the NFL right now. They're bad. They're bad in the current position that they stand out. Going into the beginning of the year, right? It didn't look like this, right? But you lose Cooper Kupp, you lose Allen Robinson, who, call it what it is, he's had a tough year. The run game, you have no idea what's going on there. They've decided to go with Kerryon Williams and Cam Akers. And now you've lost Aaron Donald, who's all of your defense, or 95% of your defense, or the defense rotates around him. And it's their offensive line is horrible. Right. Horrible. Again, injuries are plaguing their offensive line. So they've certainly, I don't want to call it Super Bowl hangover. I think when the injury bug strikes as hard as it has for the Rams, like, you just don't come back from it, right? It's impossible to lose. I think they've lost, like, on both sides of the ball, like 11 starters this year. You just don't. It doesn't work, right? The recipe's not there. And I just watching them last week against Kansas City. It's just hard to watch a team struggle like that at all. If you're a football fan, it's hard to watch nothing go right. That's what I watched. I watched almost nothing go right the whole game from them.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm obviously on the Seahawks as well. And when you're as down bad as the Rams are, listen, the Seahawks don't have a great defense, but I just don't see how the Rams can keep pace. They're out too many guys on offense to score. We saw it last week. They played the Chiefs, and their defense played admirably and kind of kept them in the game, but their offense had no business moving that ball. And I think the Seahawks do a decent job of putting points on the board. I think it's a boat race. I think it's a runaway, and I got the Hawks.
Yeah. Kenneth Walker III, if you got to put him in your lineup, he's going to run. This is a guy that legitimately could run for 125 yards and have 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, let's move on. We've got the Chargers, the other team in Los Angeles, headed on the road to take on the Derek Carr-led Raiders. Todd, I'll let you lead it off. Who you got?
You thought Josh Jacobs had a big game last week, boys. He's facing the second worst run defense in the NFL and the Chargers.
And Derek Carr got it going last week.
Yeah. Look, I'm still taking the Chargers here. Everybody's back, right? You got Mike Williams, you got Keenan Allen. You got everything on the offense is fluid. It's a high-powered offense. They move the ball. They'll move the ball around really well. I think Las Vegas will have a hard time keep going points for points with them. But it is really exciting to see a leading rusher not be Derrick Henry in the NFL too, right? I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I love Josh Jacobs this year. He's just proving,
out of nowhere.
He's proving every week that he's going to get paid next year. It's not going to necessarily be the team friendly contract that I think people thought that he would get based on kind of his career trajectory. I mean, he's the leading rusher in the NFL. He won them the game last week against the Seahawks, over 200 yards. I love that part of it, but I just think the Chargers offense is just too powerful for the Raiders to beat it. So I'm taking LA and Las Vegas.
Aaron.
Yeah, and just to kind of build off of your Jacobs point, I mean, it's a new regime in Las Vegas. They didn't pick up his fifth-year option, and he's leading the league in rushing. You're right. He's going to have a plethora of opportunities next year. It's probably not going to be in Las Vegas, but good for him.
I agree.
For putting his best foot forward, literally, especially last week. So that's all to say. I'm also taking the Chargers. I just wanted to give credit to Jacobs there. But listen, I think the Raiders have just been so underwhelming all year. I've taken them, a couple weeks, and they've just let me down constantly. It's not as bad as the Broncos, where I'm like, if I pick them, call the cops. But they're right there for me, where I don't feel comfortable taking them in any game, and I'd rather I think I'll end up on the plus side fading them. And I like the Chargers better overall. And I also think the Chargers are playing for something this year that the Raiders are in too deep of a hole. So, if the Chargers punch them in the mouth once, I think the Raiders will back down a lot easier.
Sure. I'm actually going to go on the opposite end of this. I went with the Raiders last week by myself. And I actually came out on top on that one.
Hey,
and I'm gonna continue to ride that train. I'm gonna kind of mirror your points in the fact that the Chargers haven't exactly impressed me this year. Neither have the Raiders. The Raiders haven't been great, but Derek Carr had his best game of the season last week. So I maybe he finally got it going. I took a flyer on them last week because it was them against the Seahawks, and maybe it was a little Pete Carroll angst, but I felt like that was a good opportunity to maybe take a flyer on the Raiders last week. But to my surprise, Derek Carr got it going. Josh Jacobs had a great game.
Ooh, this is big, boys.
Breaking news: the Rose Bowl has signed an agreement that will allow college football playoff to expand to 12 teams in 2024. 2025.
Wow. Let's go. That's big. That's big time.
So
big.
If one falls, I think the rest will follow.
Long story short, I'm taking the Rams. Or I'm sorry, I'm taking the Raiders here.
God, I hope you're not taking the Rams.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, you're locked in now. You got to take the Rams.
It's already on paper that I'm taking the Seahawks. All right. So do we want to break this down now, or do we want to wait till the end? Because I want to talk about this.
It's breaking news. Go for it, dude.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's like a decade late, but better late than never, right? I guess my biggest curiosity is it going to impact the length of the college football season, and how is this going to play out? Those are my questions, because I see this is going to be 12 teams. It's fantastic. It's exciting. It's going to give a lot of teams an opportunity that don't necessarily get an opportunity to get into the spotlight. I'm just curious to how they're going to format the playoff, how long the season is going to be, or if they're going to extend the season, if they're going to shorten it, and just how that's going to work. I have lots of questions, and I haven't had a second to think about it.
It's a fair question. You're going to have teams, your top four in that situation, or top two, are going to get buys. So at least
it would be top 4 in a 12 team.
Top 4 out of 12. So the teams that would have made the OG college football playoff are basically going to get a day off. So you're allowing these teams like that you've seen in the last couple of years who are saying, we deserve to be there. And then last year Cincinnati finally is that team that gets that, and of course it doesn't, go the way
4 teams get a bye, 8 teams play, and then there's 2 more weeks of football.
I think a lot of those teams that are on the outside looking in the current format are ecstatic, because that's just more revenue for their
sure.
But you're right. There is a player safety question to be had there of, how are we, compensating this injury risk and safety concerns, for basically baby adults. I know they're adults. I know they're big. I know they look a lot older than us on television because they're just huge dudes. These are like 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and I think the safety concern is
their bodies are still young, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
It's that's where the length of the season comes into play there, and I'm interested to see what they're going to. So essentially, if the top 4 teams get a bye and 8 teams play, so there's week 1, and then you got it down to 8 teams. After that, because the 4 and 4, and then it would be, so it's 8, and then drops 4. So it would add 4 weeks. It would add 4 weeks of football.
3 weeks.
No, 3 weeks for the teams that are playing.
Yeah,
like every week. The top 4, obviously, they get the break, and then it's only an extra 2 weeks of football for them. But it's 3 weeks of football for the teams that have to play in the in that round of 8. And then that round of 8 again, and then 4, and then 2.
So here's what I think what it does, right? And I think it impacts some of your mid-major conferences, like the MAC, for example, or the Sun Belt, and those smaller mid-majors that rely on some of the funding that they get to travel to Tuscaloosa or Baton Rouge or whatever to go get their ass kicked, right? You're going to lose that. That's what you're going to lose. You're going to lose those front-end cupcake games for your Power 5 top 10 schools. That's where that's the money part for me, where I think it impacts the most, is that a school like a Bowling Green or a Miami or a Toledo, they're not getting that big check to go get beat 63-0 and walk out of there like, whatever, we had fun, we played a football game, but now we get to upgrade our facility. So that part changes. So I think that eliminates some of the length of schedule, right? So you eliminate probably 2 weeks of the season. That's where I see it going, is probably 2 weeks of the regular season. It's a 10 to 11 game schedule. You play 8 conference games. That's where I see that to start. Tez makes a good point. You're going to see the bowl games continue to be existing because, again, we're talking money, fellas. We're talking about money coming in for multiple revenue streams. These businesses want to continue to earn money off of these players and sponsoring these events. It is what it is. That's how the NCAA has continued to coexist and put on these big theatrical events. And at the end of the day, you're just going to watch. You're going to watch it. You're going to watch one team a year do what March Madness does, right? And it's not going to be a 12 seed or a St. Peter's making it to the Elite 8, but you're going to watch maybe it's a Penn State or a team in the Big 12 or something, somehow just ground and pound their way into a Final Four, which I think is good for football. Anytime it's more screen time, it's more ticket sales, and it's more sponsors. So it's a win-win-win across the board. Businesses make more money. Players get the opportunity to show off their stuff. No more Senior Bowl, right? That'll go away.
Yeah, for sure.
So stuff like that will go away, I think. I think you've already lost a lot of interest from most of the guys that play.
Well, the Senior Bowl is more about recruit or doing draft scouting. I don't think the Senior Bowl is going anywhere.
Well, I guess maybe because you're talking about a lot of, or maybe they limit it, right? They do something different, but I guess most of the guys that are in that probably.
Now, I think what it's leaning towards, and you kind of mentioned it, like the Bowling Greens of the world, and that get a $5 million or whatever check to go get their asses kicked. I think the NCAA has kind of been going towards the direction of there really does need to be a separation of, division. Basically, there's all of these teams in Division I. That, let's face it, there's some conferences that don't necessarily belong. And don't get me wrong, I love MAC football. I love Bowling Green State Falcons. But at the same time, I understand the fact that they're not really in that tier. So I think what you're going to see is maybe at a certain point, a break off of the Power 5 with, the rest. All of those teams are now going to be eligible for this 12-team season. But you're right, Todd. I just think you're going to lose some of these cupcake games, which is good for the viewers. It's probably bad for some small-time schools, but, that's kind of the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll dig more into it as more of this story develops. Definitely exciting, though. Definitely needed. Long overdue. I think it's going to be great. You're not going to have the the guaranteed, just the 4 teams, the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States in there every year. You might be able to see some actual diversity when it comes to these playoffs. So it's going to be exciting to see. We'll definitely keep track of it. All right, Todd, I'm going to let you lead this next one off. Rematch from last year. Chiefs coming to Cincinnati, taking on the Bengals. I want to know your thoughts on this one. This is the exact same situation the Bengals were in last year, when the Chiefs. Well, not necessarily the exact same, but it's close.
It's a similar position, right? It's a similar time of year. Look, here's the deal, fellas. I'm not gonna try to give some big breakdown, deep dive analysis. This is gonna come down to who has the ball last. That's what this game is to me. This is a back and forth. I think there will be a lot of stalled drives in this game. I think you've watched the Bengals defense last week take away the biggest weapon Tennessee had in Derrick Henry. They did it very, very well. I think Travis Kelce is much more challenging to stop than Derrick Henry is. Just in general. But it's not about stopping Travis Kelce. It's about limiting his impact on the score, right? He can have 10 catches as long as he stays out of the end zone. He can get in the end zone once, right? That's what the Bengals have to focus on, is keeping big play Travis Kelce off the field, because he's always going to be on the field. He's going to get open. He just finds a way to do it. You could double cover him. He still finds a way to get open. It is what it is. But when the Bengals played the Chiefs last year in the regular season, they had to worry about Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And Travis Kelce had a really good game in the regular season against the Bengals. Tyreek Hill stalled. And then we kind of saw the flip-flop in the AFC Championship for most of the game until the second half. I think that the Kansas City team that you were watching, specifically the Patrick Mahomes that you were watching this year, is a different quarterback than last year for Kansas City too. That's the thing that concerns me the most about Pat Mahomes, is I've watched him make more plays out of the pocket this year and be more elusive than he has been in his entire career. That's the thing that concerns me, is are the Bengals going to be able to keep him kind of inside the grounding lines, right? I'll call them the grounding lines, because he eats most outside the grounding lines. And is he going to be big play Mahomes? That's it.
Right.
If you can limit, right? I'm not saying eliminate or take away. If you can limit him being able to put these 55-second theatrical drives that he does, right? Because he doesn't need 2 minutes. He needs 55 seconds most of the time. We watched it. If you can limit that, and if you could slow him down, right, which is what the Bengals did last year to him, and in the second half of both games, they slowed him down. They forced him to play into their game on defense. Then you win this game, right? That's kind of all the recipes here. Here's the thing, though. I'm taking the Chiefs, fellas. I'm taking the team that I think plays the overall better football this year. It sucks for me to say that out loud. I don't feel great about, saying that the Chiefs are going to beat the Bengals. But here's the thing. When the Bengals played the Chiefs last year in the regular season, I made the same pick, and I was very happy to be wrong. So I'm picking the Chiefs, but if I'm wrong, I'm the happiest wrong person on this on the podcast right now.
Fair.
Go
ahead. Well, so I agree with you. It'll be interesting to see. It's leaning towards Jamar Chase is going to be back. I'd love to see what percentage back that he is. But you also have the Chiefs that have lost 2 in a row to the Bengals, one in the playoffs. And I think that's going to leave a bad taste in their mouth. And I think, it's going to – how much pride do the Chiefs have? They're a team that they just need to get into the playoffs, and they feel like they can roll over anybody. Now, This is a game that isn't really going to – if they drop it, isn't going to ruin their playoff chances. They're still going to be right there. It could affect seeding in the end for sure, but it's not going to affect the fact that they're going to be in the playoffs at the end of the season. So I kind of want to see the kind of pride that the Chiefs play with. I know Mahomes is, seen as this otherworldly quarterback, and obviously Kelce has been his, right-hand man through this whole thing. How do these guys come back and respond and say, are we going to put, our hands on the throat and take this game over? And I want to see that. If it's not for Niners Dolphins, or it's this one, These are the two best games of the week and the ones I'm most excited to see. I'm going to take the Chiefs as well. I picked them to win the Super Bowl, but I really want them to – I'm picking them because I expect them to show in this game why I picked them to win the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year.
Sure. I'm taking the Chiefs, and it's for the main reason that, it's really tough to win 3 straight against a team of Kansas City's caliber. And I know Patrick Mahomes doesn't take that lightly. He's a man of pride. He likes to win. He doesn't like to win. He loves to win. That's just his pedigree. It's what he's about. Don't get me wrong. I think the Bengals are making the right strides. If Jamar Chase plays the whole game, I think the Bengals have a better chance. But I can't see any world in where the Bengals take 3 straight from the Chiefs. Even though it's across the course of a season and a half. I just statistics tell you that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and look, the Bengals beat the Chiefs in the regular season because of Jamar Chase's big play ability, right? And every team has figured out how to pretty much eliminate that from Cincinnati this year. They took away the big play factor that Jamar Chase has, and they force him to be a good route running wide receiver, which fortunately he's one of the best route runners in the NFL. So it doesn't falter him too terribly much, but he beat them last year on 2 huge plays, right? Two 50+ yard plays. And it's not going to happen twice in a row, right? They're not going to continue to let him do that. They're going to force the Bengals they're going to force Joe Burrow specifically to move the ball around more. And now Jamar Chase makes their offense a fuck ton a lot better, right?
Yeah.
It's not like they're going
even if he's on the field and he's not getting the ball, he makes their offense better.
Higgins is a good enough receiver to be a number 1. He elevates Higgins as well.
And I think, this is my opinion. I don't expect you guys to share this with me as a Bengals fan, but Higgins has been all pro without Jamar Chase on the field. He puts up all pro numbers without him on the field.
Higgins has been excellent. I'll give you that.
I think that he deserves to be in a top 15 conversation after watching him play the last few weeks. He puts the position that he puts the Bengals in, or he could put any team in. You don't take the Bengals out. He could put any team in with his ability to catch the ball on the sideline and to be able to create force contact without having to catch the ball necessarily. He causes a ton of pass interference penalties because of his ability to get open. He's a great athlete. I think he's been overshadowed, fortunately, because he has such a talent in Jamar Chase with him, that you got to see him for the last 4 weeks showcase himself, and it's been exceptional.
Yeah. So I know we've been out for a while, so real quick, I just want to go around. Best number 2 wide receiver in the league, Higgins or Waddle?
Ooh. Right now I'm taking T. Higgins.
Tough, right?
That's a great question.
I'm taking Jalen Waddle. I love T. Higgins. If somebody said, "Hey, you can sign T. Higgins to the Steelers tomorrow," I am fucking jumping for joy. I love T. Higgins. I think he's great. I don't think he's. I think he's just like Jalen Waddle's here and T. Higgins is like here.
I'm with you, Bobby. I think they're both can stand alone on their own right.
Absolutely. They could both be number 1 somewhere.
They're right there. Yeah. They're both. They're the best number 2.
I like Waddle more than I like Higgins.
That's fair. Yeah, Waddle's the better overall athlete, I think, in terms of just pure athleticism and speed. But
Higgins is a big.
Yeah,
dog.
It's a close
big
2-3 conversation there. So, all right. So we've all got the Chiefs. I'm interested to see where Corey goes if he sticks with his heart, or if he goes with his head. I would imagine he goes with the Bengals in this one.
He'll take the Bengals.
We
did the same thing last year.
He's gonna throw the poncho on, and he's gonna be 16 Miller Lights deep, and just absolutely raving for the Benjis on Sunday, as will Todd. I will be there watching that with you, so I'm excited.
It's a great slate. 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
Yeah, it's good games this week, man. Good games across the board for the most part. I think we've only had a couple that we're not split on, at least to this point. We obviously don't have Corey's picks, but next 2, I don't think
that's what I was saying. Then we get into the prime times.
The prime times are really underwhelming this week. We've got the Colts and the Cowboys. Cowboys have been absolutely rolling. I've got the Cowboys. I'm assuming you guys do as well.
Yeah. We don't need to talk much about it.
I just looked though. I was like, oh, why are the games so good this week? The team's on a bye. Cardinals, Panthers. I don't have to watch that shit.
Fair enough. All right. So we won't spend. I don't have anything to talk. I mean, the Cowboys have been on a roll these last couple
defense
weeks.
Is just
their defense, I think,
insane.
is finally stepping into their like what they should have been the whole year. Yeah, they just look so good.
They're gonna murder
the Colts. The Colts have zero. I mean, they're gonna shut Jonathan Taylor down, and the Colts will have nothing.
I'm worried about Matt Ryan being able to walk off the field after.
Yeah, he's gonna get
on his own 2 feet. He's gonna get crushed a lot.
Yeah, he's gonna get fucking demolished, and he's not a young buck anymore. So yeah, I mean that's an easy one. Monday night game, we got the Saints on the road in Tampa Bay. I'm taking Tom Brady in the Bucs. I don't think anything else needs to be said for me. Todd, who you got?
Yeah, I got TB12 at home. It's hard to bet on the Saints right now too.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the full Browns Buccaneers game last week, and I don't think enough has been said about how off they look. Like their division is terrible, so they're still in a good spot where they can make the playoffs, and everyone just wants to say, well, get Tom Brady into the playoffs and he'll do his thing. Nope. His timing is off. He just doesn't look like the same guy. I believe it was like I saw a stat where he was it was some ungodly number in zero with a 7-point lead and 2 minutes to go in a game. It was like 208-0 or some unridiculous number. And the Browns were the first team to beat him in that situation. He just does not look to be the same. Now, on the other side of the ball, you have a Saints team that is sputtering, and their only win in the last 5 is against an injured up Rams team. And I'll take Tom Brady as well, but this is just a bad division. And Tom Brady and the Bucs just don't look intimidating at all.
Yeah.
Nothing is fluid. The only thing at Tampa that I enjoy watching is I like watching Rachaad White play.
Yeah. Yeah, he's good, but dude, I'm telling you, watching that game, I couldn't believe how conservative Todd Bowles was. There's no reason we should have been in there at the end. They punted, I think, their last 6 possessions. Yeah. I loved it.
My pick last week would also agree with you.
I took the Brownies. I knew they were going to send Jacoby off right.
No, absolutely. All right, well, that wraps it up for this week. We've got a lot of discrepancy this week, so we could see some big changes in the overall standings of the picks this week. So definitely interested to see how Sunday plays out. It's going to be a wonderful day of football. We definitely hope you guys all enjoy. But chat, I think we're going to leave you guys there. We're hitting that 2-hour mark. Definitely
lit
appreciate
chat
it.
Tonight.
Was
lit
a
chat.
lit chat
yeah,
tonight.
Thank you all. Thank you all so much.
Incredible. We had a lot of great things to talk about, college, NFL. If you guys aren't watching USA on Saturday, I don't know what you're doing.
10 a.m. Fox USA.
Have a Bloody Mary.
They are playing the Netherlands. Make sure you tune into that, and then obviously catch some football on Sunday, and we'll be back here next week to discuss it all. We love you guys. We appreciate it, and we will catch you guys next Wednesday.